Prime Minister's options now? Can she renegotiate the backstop arrangement, the clause in the withdrawal deal that guarantees no hard border in Ireland by keeping the UK in a customs union with the EU until a permanent trade deal is agreed? How much of a renegotiation might she have to get the support of Conservatives and get it all through the Commons? And separately, isn't the ground anyway moving under her feet? Moves to delay our leaving the EU and to take no deal off the table. Moves that lead perhaps to another referendum. Iain Duncan Smith is here in the studio, Brexit supporter, of course, former leader of the Conservatives. Morning to you.
Morning, Justin.
On the withdrawal deal, what do you need to vote for Mrs May?
Well, I think the Prime Minister started yesterday in her announcement with a significant statement that for the first time the government is prepared now to go back and negotiate. That has not been the case for some time. They said it was all stitched up. There was nothing they could do. That means really 2 or 3 areas. In fact, a group of us published a thing called A Better Deal and a Better Future, which was essentially about how the government gets itself over the line. Number one, we have to have an absolute commitment with the EU from the start of this that we are both heading to a full free trade deal. That is the purpose of all of this. It's not a 2-stage process. It's really a 1-stage process. The second thing is I think the Prime Minister herself now needs to have, first and foremost, a really, really good team led by a politician now. And they've got a man called Crawford Faulkner sitting there who's negotiated God knows how many trade deals in New Zealand. He should now be part of this team. And now...
Right, so hang on that. You're saying he should be sent to Brussels, basically to do this deal over the next couple of weeks.
My view is, as you would if you were in business or any kind of project you were doing, you always get the expert and they do the negotiations. And what we now need is absolutely 100% daily political leadership under the Prime Minister, reporting back to her so when she goes over she knows it, and alongside that individual you have already sitting in the Trade Department probably the world's expert on trade arrangements,
right? And
I would like to see that individual in. Now that's
and replacing Ollie Robbins, who's doing the job at the moment.
No particular problem if Ollie Robbins is still there, etc. My point is that they would support that process, but what you need is a very strong focus team now, but politically led. That's my personal view.
And on the withdrawal agreement then, what should they be saying?
Well, on the withdrawal agreement, we have to sort out, obviously everything comes back to the backstop. Why the backstop? Because the backstop unlocks just about everything else. The backstop isn't just a kind of no hard borders process for Northern Ireland. The problem with the backstop is that it makes it almost impossible for us to negotiate a proper trade deal later because, as Macron said, you just wait until you're about to crash in and then you'll have to give away everything. And the second part of it, we forget that in the backstop there are a whole set of provisions that basically say, look, the backstop pretty much defines your trade relationship, which therefore means we have very little wiggle room. So,
but what is this sudden sort of magical thing that you've discovered, though you can get rid of the backstop, that until now everyone has agreed is essential?
What's essential is not the backstop. What is essential is that we have all agreed there will be no hard border, no border checks on the border of Northern Ireland.
So there's a different way of guaranteeing.
There is. That's been agreed by the EU, by Ireland and by the UK. So let's start from what has been agreed first and foremost, which is no hard border. Now, I went over there back in October with a team of people, including experts from Europe on customs and borders, as well as David Trimble, expert on the Good Friday Agreement. No one's more of an expert, this Nobel Peace Prize winner. And we proposed to them that there was a way in which you take away all of the processes around the border and you make these checks on a customs arrangement, so you have a free trade, early free trade and customs arrangement. We've produced a protocol for that at their request. At their request. And why? Because they know in their heart of hearts that actually this whole backstop issue that has now been agreed is probably almost unworkable because it separates Northern Ireland from the UK, which is unacceptable to the UK. So it is feasible now for us to say to them, you now risk losing any kind of arrangement with the UK unless we now agree there's a better way to do this. And it is agreed amongst most experts that this can be easily, not easily, but certainly well...
So your position is still get rid of the backstop. I just wonder whether you might accept that the ground is moving, not just under Theresa May's feet, but also under yours, as it were, because of moves in Parliament that may well see Brexit delayed, MPs gathering together on all sides of the House to do that. And if you want a deal, and a deal that sees us leave on March the 29th, you are going to have to move closer to Theresa May, and you and your side in this argument are going to have to compromise.
Yes, can I just complete the point, which is it's not just the backstop. There are elements to the Court of Justice's role.
But the backstop's the key, isn't it?
And also the money. So I'm not trying to skate over it, but we are talking about the big elephant in the room. But yes, listen, the government... I thought the Prime Minister was unbelievably clear yesterday. She said, no, we cannot go into the customs union. Why? Because that is not what people voted for. She was clear there's no delay.
She's going to lose control of the process in the Commons. That's my point. And for you, that is a danger, isn't it?
Well, it's a danger, frankly, for the United Kingdom. It's not for me. The UK voted to leave.
You, if you want us to leave on March 29th, sorry to keep pressing this way,
yeah.
You want us to leave, and you desperately do. For that to happen, you have got to ensure that she is able to make that happen before that date. And her ability to make that happen is reducing, isn't it?
Well, we will see what happens on Tuesday. I have a very simple formula for this, which is if you really support this, really, I think, constitutional nonsense of allowing a backbench group to take over the business and run legislation at the government. If the Labour Party agrees to support that, they have to think carefully what would happen if they were in power and they did not have a mass majority. So, number one, this opens the door to mayhem in the Commons. And I promise you, those who think that the House of Commons could act as a government negotiating a trade deal are living in cloud
And
cooking.
if there were a free vote on that subject, as some cabinet ministers we understand...
The government has to have a position on something as fundamental as what their plan is for the future. The Prime Minister was very clear yesterday, and there's collective responsibility in Cabinet and amongst ministers. They have agreed there will be no extension of Article 50, and there will be no revocation of Article 50, and no customs union. Now, it's
and
very
if lots
important.
Resign,
well,
that's enforced.
Look, individuals must always make their own decisions. I did of my own accord. If you don't agree, but the reality
so the government carries on. So, in spite of, if there were mass resignations as are threatened, the government just carries on. More people.
Well, I have a very simple comment to those.
Carry on. Nothing has changed.
I have a simple comment to those who threaten things like this. Stop threatening, and just get on with the one thing that the British people said. And this is the whole point. We talk as though there's a little island called the Houses of Parliament in which everything really is discussed and settled without recourse to the fact that we gave away the vote. 2/3 voted to give people the vote. 2/3 voted to implement it. 2/3 voted to basically set Article 50. And 80% of all of those people out there voted for parties that said, we will endorse and run that. If you now say you want to delay or to stop Brexit and to take the negotiating position off the table for the Prime Minister, you are doing only one thing. You must clearly not want us to leave, and that is to fly in the face of the British public. They will be very angry.
Iain Duncan Smith, thank you.